Scroll down, scroll down. Wait, what? So there appears to be something going on with Furcation, which resulted in them posting this. Let's go ahead and take a read and try to understand what is going on. First, try to learn more about the situation, and then I'll go ahead and share my thoughts, opinions, and so on with this. And then we can have a bit of a discussion about it. This is what was posted by Furcation. So let's go ahead and read it. An important message to our attendees from the Furcation Board of Directors. You may have seen some notes, messages, and information shared around during Furcation 2024 following quote-unquote drama at the convention. Unfortunately, the rumors are true and we are not being welcomed back to the Furcation 2024 venue. This puts us into huge uncertainty as for a 2025 event to run. We need to now start the search for a new home for Furcation. As such, it is possible we will need to put in place a break for 2025. Our hosts were incredibly unhappy with a number of things that happened across the course of the weekend, and we are 100% in agreement with them. Across the weekend, there were a couple of large drug-fueled organized adult parties. Oh my god. Oh no. Let me actually say what it is, adult parties. It's a drug-fueled orgy that took place in contravention with both our code of conduct and our terms of service with the venue. A number of people were asked to leave the site under a zero-tolerance approach, which is as it should be. Both parties were attended by 30/40 plus people in small accommodation spaces. Oh no, and were reported in to us by other attendees who were concerned by them. What has followed is that those removed from the event, instead of taking personal responsibility for what they have done, have sought to destroy the event. Of course they did.
Hey there, you having a good day? Well, fuck you.
For daring to call them out for their poor behavior. This has also been supported by an individual within our senior staff team, who has been leaking out confidential information and discussions from within our internal staff chats. No doubt a friend of theirs, but too much of a coward to own up for it. I like that they're calling them a coward for this. I like that. That's got some guts in it. That's good. Followed up with a barrage of false TripAdvisor reviews, drama spread on Twitter, and various other misinformation. Our venue has indeed said they will not be allowing us to return for 2025, which is fair and understandable. They have also since discovered that some individuals took to damaging/destroying their accommodation.
I'm sorry, what the fuck?
In relation which Furcation Ltd will now have a foot the bill for. Oh no. Oh, that's really bad. To say that we are deeply disappointed is an understatement. Yeah, I can tell. We feel we speak for the whole of the furry community when we say to those people and their followers/supporters, you are not welcome in this community. The furry fandom is not a place of hatred, bullying, and harassment. That one is a bit debatable, because people like Sappho do deserve to be hated, bullied, and harassed out of the fandom, because they're absolute monsters. But besides that point, and we hope that those celebrating their success are noticed and shunned by the wider community. I hope so as well, they should be. The bad news for you is that this isn't the end of Furcation. We're not going to let hatred and bullying win, far from it. Fair enough, that is a good stance. This appears to have been isolated down to a group of around 50 to 60 attendees. Oh my god. Okay, I understand that in relation to a furry convention, 50 to 60 attendees is nothing, but still, that is significant. And a lot of the supporters they have online have never even attended our events. That is very normal for Twitter. Most people that complain about a furry convention on Twitter haven't actually been to the convention in the first place, but feel they have the right to comment on it. For those who have destroyed their accommodation, we will be forwarding your details to the police. Good. This is criminal damage and it will be treated as such. Exactly. This is criminal damage. Thus, you call the cops for it. Batman doesn't live IRL, so you gotta call the cops instead. You will also now be receiving a lifetime ban from any future events run by Furcation Ltd. Good call. Absolutely great call. For the rest of our attendees, we are sorry that your weekend experiences have been ruined by the minority. Our venue may have become a bit itchy trigger finger in regards to the rest of the event, but honestly, with what they had to break up over Saturday evening, we don't blame them. As always, it is the few that ruins it for the many. Unfortunately, within the furry fandom, that is very true. Furcation will return, there is no doubt about it. What that will look like, we do not yet know. Most of our staff team haven't even been home 24 hours before we've been put into a position of making the statement. We haven't had chance to decompress and review what took place or even to open the feedback forms for completion at this point. And we do stand by our decision to not run the federal panel on Monday, to not run the feedback panel, not federal, feedback panel on Monday. Given the events of the weekend, our staff team have been left feeling deflated, demoralized, and angry at the abuse and harassment that has been shared following those groups being removed from the site. Understandable. Nobody should ever be in a position to receive hatred and abuse for doing their job and upholding standards, especially when we are all volunteers working to put together one thing. That is true. Furry conventions are basically just that. A bunch of other furries trying to get a convention running, volunteering for it. A weekend for the community to come together in a safe space where they can have a great weekend spent in the company of friends. For the majority of our attendees, we did just that. And for that majority, we will continue to do so. Watch this space for news of future events, and for those who support the people removed from our event, do not darken our doorstep. You are not welcome. I agree. Absolutely. Unfortunately, entitled jackasses going into community spaces and ruining them is not something that is new to the furry fandom. And to be fair, it isn't exclusive to the furry fandom either. Other fandoms also end up having to deal with this a lot. But, obviously just because one fandom also has it doesn't mean we can just ignore it. People that cannot behave like normal individuals, yeah, they tend to be one of the reasons why we get a lot of bad reputation. Now, one of the most common, actually, there are a few very common just replies to this, of course, on Twitter, that is quite annoying. And also pretty much tells me all I need to know about how intelligent these people actually are, especially the ones on Twitter. Things such as, adults are going to adults. Yeah, that mentality and excuse is why we're now losing cons. Getting furry conventions done would be so much easier and quicker if we didn't have this bullshit mentality running around as much as it does. Enabling this kind of behavior, or continuing to behave like this, it will only result in hosts becoming less and less common and furry conventions becoming less and less common as a result, because, yeah, obviously, 90% of the time, nobody is exactly, celebrating outrageous addictions and behaviors. In a previous video of mine, I already talked about drugs, so I'll just take that part and put it in here, specifically the parts that apply. 2:00 in the morning, there was an incident involving another person, which that person was having a bad reaction to drugs he took. The person bit off my finger, and I can use any help possible for my medical bills. Another night at a hotel. Goodness, man, if you can't handle drugs, if you don't know if you can handle drugs, don't fucking take the drugs. I can already hear the druggies coping the fuck out right now. Since we're here, let's have a quick little discussion related to drugs real quick. Obviously, it's gonna be quick, because I don't want this video to be dedicated to drugs. I'll make a separate video dedicated to drugs later on, but let's have a quick little discussion about drugs. Unfortunately, depending on your genetics, there is a pretty good chance of using cannabis causing psychotic episodes. Like, using cannabis in overwhelming amounts can increase the risk of developing psychotic illness, which includes schizophrenia. And again, before the druggies start screaming at me, remember how I said genetics. Unfortunately, there are some individuals with certain genetics that makes them predisposed to the risk of cannabis causing schizophrenia as well as causing a psychotic episode. Keep in mind, I have been around weed smokers before, and I know that for most of them, this is not even close of a problem. However, for those of you who have genetics for it, unfortunately, this is a big risk. And also, I do not trust most of you fuckers to be reasonable when it comes to the amount of drugs that you consume. Not even myself, hence why I do not use drugs. I don't trust myself enough to be using drugs. And if you do not know if you can handle drugs, be it because, genetics or something else, just don't fucking do it. Be patient. Go to a psychiatrist, test things out in a professional environment and safe environment, and figure out how things are going to be for you, and then start going and using them. Now, when it comes to the orgy section of this, well, my thoughts on this kind of sexual behavior is already, out there. It's pretty obvious. So I'll go ahead and just take the part of the same video that applies to this, since, it pretty much explains my thoughts on it. Now, notice how I said in public spaces. If it is not in a public space and it is just two consenting adults or multiple consenting adults going to a private spot and having some fun, there is no issue there. It's nobody's business apart from those two or more than the two individuals that are getting involved in that situation. So don't be a dickhead getting mad about people simply having sex in their own private spot. That is not your business, and neither is it mine. The only time it is when it's in a public space. Talking about this, I would also like to make this very clear. I ain't no fucking Puritan. I am just as horny as you fuckers are. But there is a time and place, boo. Time and place. Hug them in the streets and fuck them in the sheets, not the public.
And that is not an exaggeration. I am just as horny as most of you fuckers are. The only difference is time and place.
And so far, the orgy in question, as far as the information currently available suggests, did not occur in a public setting. It happened inside of one of the caravan? I forgot what it was called. It's at the tip of my tongue, but it just isn't coming out. But basically, it wasn't done in public view. It wasn't done in a public setting. It was done privately. Thus, I have nothing to complain about this. I have fun, I guess.
A lot of the people here on Twitter talking about this, one, this wasn't a furry convention in the US, by the way. This was in the UK, so first off, why the fuck are you even talking? But regardless, a lot of people are missing the point that venues have these things called policies. And not all policies tolerate illicit drugs and occupationship limitations that can trigger a removal. But they continued and proceeded to lash out like fucking toddlers after being told to leave. Brainlets. I can tell a hook-nosed Jew wrote this? What the fuck? You're the same kind of people who cry Nazi when we host our own cons, don't support woke cons who hate furries. What? I'm so confused. When did Jews come into this? I'm so confused. Buddy, are you okay? Buddy, I think you need to get your medication. My goodness, I'm so confused.
And that is going to be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you later, some other time. Goodbye.